What's up, guys? Murphy Firearms Training here. This is Chris, and been hoping to trade these out for a while. So I bought a Glock 26. I've got a video on the Glock 26. Why I don't like Glocks, actually, and why I bought this Glock 26. And I bought it solely because it already had a replacement barrel in it. One of my gripes about Glock is I shoot lead ammo, and you can't shoot lead ammo in their guns. And I'm not going to buy a $500 gun and put a new barrel in it. But I found one somebody didn't want anymore, and they'd already replaced the barrel with a button rifle barrel. So it worked out cool, but it still has the original plastic Glock sights on it. And I'm not a real fan of these plastic sights. And I might carry this gun. I haven't decided yet, but I like the gun. It's kind of cool. It's got the coating on the slide. I don't really care for the gold slide, but it came with the gun and it works. So, but I got these Ameriglo sights, and they're really cool because the front is a red night sight, and the rear is a ghost ring. And I've shot ghost ring sights on a shotgun before, and I really liked them. And I thought it'd be kind of cool to put ghost ring sights on a pistol. So anyway, I'm going to put these Ameriglo ghost ring sights on my Glock 26 and see how it goes. So to do this job, you need a way to get this guy off. It's just going to slide off. I have a sight pusher for that. And then the front sight, you have to have a sight removal tool, a Glock sight removal tool. I have this one. It's from Vism. It's a cheap one, but it works, and it's just a little hex that goes in there. And we're going to go in and get that front sight, see if we can bite into that and get it to come loose. It's a little persnickety at times. You really have to get it just right and really bear down. Especially depending on how tight the sight is from the previous owner, and someone may have rounded it off. So you got to get down in that little, you got to get down in there and take it off. It's really hard to show that on camera, but there it goes. Is it going to bite? And it may be that the previous owner got it too tight and it won't come loose. There it goes. It's coming now. I can feel it. Yeah. So it just falls. Once you get it, it comes right out. So there's the old sight. Actually, that's a replacement sight. That is metal. It is metal. It's a replacement sight, but it's still just a plain white dot. This does come with its own nut already on it. So we're going to put that front sight there. And so we're going to take that off. Front sight bites into this groove pretty snugly usually. There's always a little bit of wobble. If you see just a little bit of wobble there. And it kind of bothers me. The one that was on here was slightly crooked. And it really irks me if they're crooked. So I have to, I don't know what to tell you other than it drives me a little crazy. So I have to really make sure this thing's on straight. So I'm going to take and put that nut into the sight removal tool. Okay, so you get that in there like so, nice and snug. And I go in kind of sideways and watch what I'm doing and get it started. Okay. And the hardest part's just getting it started. Once you get it started, it kind of runs pretty easily. So once we get it started, it goes pretty easily. And so once we get down near the bottom, I'm going to make sure this is lined up where I want it. Okay, I'm just going to hold that with my finger. I'm going to try and hold that with my finger. And if you really want to make sure that sight doesn't wiggle, you can put red Loctite under it. And that works pretty well. But that's still not quite tight enough because you see it still wiggles. So we'll go back in here. And sometimes you got to get on top of this thing and really bear down. And I apologize. You're not going to see anything on the camera from that. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's on there nice and snug. So that's pretty tight. It's still got a little wiggle to it, though. As tight as it is, it's still got just a little wiggle to it. I'm going to go in there and try to get it just a little tighter here. See if I can get all that wiggle out. And it's a tough proposition because if you over tighten it, you can break this thing off. So it's kind of it's a feel thing. And at some point you just better stop because you're going to break it. So, all right, that's on there pretty snug. It's not really moving. I'm happy with that. So then we're going to take the sight pusher. We're going to push the rear sight out, push the new rear sight in. All right, so if you've seen my videos before, you've seen this guy. This is my sight pusher here. It's got a front sight and a rear sight tool. we're going to use the rear sight tool here that's just flat on the two sides. So this is the rear sight tools, flat on both sides. We're going to set this Glock slide up in here. The way you do this, guys, I'll show you how it works. Zoom out a little bit, moving my whole camera here. This guy here is what grips your slide. So we're going to loosen this up so we can get the slide in. Okay. Slide goes in this way. Front sight pusher's in the way. Let's scoot that over, get it out of the way. All right, so the slide, can't talk tonight. The slide goes in here, and you got to get the height. So let me get the height down just a little bit. You got to get the height down so that the sight pusher is only contacting the sight and not the slide. So that's the first step. Okay, once you've got that in there and you're happy with that alignment, you're going to tighten your slide up using these thumb screws on the side. So your goal here, guys, is to get this slide in here kind of snug. It doesn't have to be super tight, but just kind of snug. Okay, your rear sight pusher, you want that to be lined up so that it doesn't hit your slide. Okay, and you're going to push this whichever way you want. I usually push left to right. So on this thing, it would be tightening. Okay, left to right. Okay, so I get that there. And then let me get the handle. I didn't get the handle when I opened the bag here. You definitely need the handle. And this is hard to do on camera because it's tilted down. But it usually, if they're not in there too tight, it comes right out. And you see this is just pushing that right out. So that's also from Visima. It's pretty cheap. And I do a lot of sights. You don't have to have this tool. You can use a brass punch and just punch the sights out. But, you know, it's kind of handy. Okay. So this should pretty much drop out at this point. Okay. And that is a plastic Glock sight. I don't like plastic sights on my handguns. I'm going to depend on this for my life. I really want it to be something a little sturdier. So, all right. So we got this guy here set up. I'm going to go ahead and get this started in the groove if I can keep from dropping it. The hard part is getting it started in the groove. So I'm going to get this started in the groove by reaching through here. And, well, I said I was. Give me 1 second. I'll get it started. All right, so I got this thing going here. And now we're going to turn lefty-loosey to push this sight back in. And the hardest part is just trying to get it centered, to be honest with you. And that's one of the places where this tool actually helps a lot, because it is easier to move at a small increment than it is with like a punch. So, but of course this is also going to go in a lot tighter than the old sight came out, because it's metal on metal. And I kind of like using this for night sights because I'm not beating on those tritium inserts with a hammer. So I'm going to set it like this and twist it this way because this is quite tough. And I'll come back and show you the final result. All right, guys, so we're back, and I'm getting this thing close to centered. And so we're going to keep going at this. Had to do just a little adjustment on the height, putting this new sight back in. The slide's wanting to tilt a little bit. If that happens, if you see my slide's tilting, it's not sitting flat. If that happens and you're not able to get the slide pushed in for that, you'll put a wrench on, you'll put a pair of pliers on these and really wrenching this thing down side to side. You know, this is good enough for me. It'll work. So I'm going to keep torquing at it and get this thing centered. And my goal, and I'll show you in a second, is I kind of eyeball it in here. And I kind of eyeball it in here. And I just said something happened with my camera. Yay me. And that looks about centered. And then what I do, guys, when I feel like I've got it about right, is I actually take my dial caliper and I measure the gap on the two sides and see that they're pretty much even. And if they're not, I put it back in here and I straighten it back out. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So let me do that. So here we go. We've got this thing. There we go. All right, so that looks about centered. Pretty happy with that. I take my dial caliper And I take this end here, and what I do, guys, is I'll turn it and I'll put it against the sight, and I'll push it until it contacts the slide. And I measure, and I get about 155. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I come down and I get about 135. Now what that means is the gap over here is smaller. I need to push it back that way about 10 thousandths, okay? And depending on the type of shooting you do, that may not matter, but I am going to move this back about 10 thousandths. But that's it. That's my sight install. So you see I've got a night sight on the rear. It's a Ghost Ring, and the way this works is you line that up just like that, and that's how you shoot. So it is a quick acquisition defensive handgun sight. It is not for, super accurate shooting. So anyway, that's kind of my newest change to the Glock. I can't wait to take it to the range and show you how it does. I'll get this thing totally centered up and we'll be good to go. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your support. If you have questions, leave them in the comments.